Hi guys, recently I've been investigating Japanese swordsmanship in mainland Asia, or the Asia mainland. And now this is actually a Korean guy doing something from an old manual which says it is from a Japanese school. And I'm going to tell you all about it in this video, but I just want you to see this video first so you can see the types of things I'm going on about. But this man, I will put a link to him in the top of the description, and here you can see him doing the kata along with the images and along with the descriptions, which are in the book I'm about to show you as well. But we've done this before with China, now this is Korea, so we're going to have a proper look at what's going on here. Now this manual actually is from 1790, which is not very old for us. However, it's based on an earlier 1599 manual, and it's apparently the Japanese is in there because of the Japanese invasions and the piracy and everything that was going on around that time. So this is a later tradition of Japanese swordsmanship still lasting in Korea at this time. You know, most of the research for this has been done by a gentleman, I think this is pronounced Amory. How is this pronounced? But he has done literally all of the research and sent this on to me. So all of the congratulations go to him, and he has been fantastic. He has sent an amazing email with lots of detailed information, but it's going to take us a while to get through everything. So this is similar, in fact very similar to the pirate sword one and the manuals that we've done before, because don't forget these Koreans were taking Chinese manuals, so it could be a copy of the same manual. However, let me read it to you. I know reading to you gets boring, guys, but come on, don't get TikTok retarded, stay with me. So basically it says the length of the blade is 5 feet long and project is 1 foot, etc. The total length of the sword is 6 feet 5 inches, including the handle. So this is actually a 6 foot sword, not a 5 foot sword. It's a 5 foot blade and a handle. It was introduced by the Japanese when they invaded China. When the Japanese soldiers danced with the sword, the glittering light overwhelmed the soldiers. With one stroke, they jumped more than 1 foot forward, cutting our soldiers' swords in half. They were able to accomplish this because their swords were sharper and they used both hands to create more power. It appears that they are the only soldiers who use this weapon, thus making it defenseless. The gunman, that was a bit weird. It appears that they are the only soldiers that use this weapon, thus making it defenseless. Bit of a strange translation. I think what he means is they are the only ones who use weapons like this, and therefore it's hard to defend against. The gunmen use it as well at long distances. They use guns at close range. They use swords. And then today it's basically then it goes on about the differences in the names and how it's changed. But basically, even though they're made in Korea now, they are based on the Japanese sword that was originally, brought over. And however, though, something here about Musashi, if anybody clocked that, they used 2 hands. So if it's taken from the Japanese invasion of Korea, they're using tachi in 2 hands. Now this keeps coming up, and I've got Jesuit accounts coming up. Musashi says you only use 1 hand. We used to only use it one-handedly. This is the old way of fighting. If I remember rightly, we'd have to go into that properly. I know he says that the way of fighting has changed, and I agree with him. But he says he only uses it one-handed. But nearly every document you find that predates Musashi says 2-handed. Never says 1-handed. So it's a bit of a problem with Musashi there, isn't it? Really. So let's get to that. So anyway, it then goes through the. It goes through this now. However, there is a little bit of an issue here, which I will go into it in a bit. There's a little bit of an issue, but we don't know how much the Koreans have changed this. But they're like the other one. We've got the complete system. One day, and hopefully not too long away, I'll put this together. But I sort of need help with this to go through it. So what I'll do is let's look at the next section. Now, next on page 158, we have the Weigum, the Japanese sword, which is here, as you know. Right, basically I'm going to go through this again. Stick with me, guys. The Japanese swords are all made of various lengths. Each warrior carries the long sword that is called a blah blah blah, the small knife that is attached to the long sword, so the small little daggers, kozuka, and used for various purposes. There's also a killing sword, 1 foot in length. We know that's the wakizashi, or basically chisai katana type job. This is called a whatever in Korean. A sword that is longer than 1 foot is called a bar. These 3 weapons are usually carried around and used in various situations. The Japanese sword is so strong and sharp that the Chinese sword cannot equal it. Regardless of length, every sword has a name engraved on one side of the handle and a pseudonym on the other side. It has always been the case that social status and level of wisdom for the carrier was judged by the engraving. So during war, Japanese drafted lots of craftsmen and basically made them produce these swords. And it goes on that way, basically. It goes on that way for 2 pages, but I'm not going to go mad on it. I'm not going to go mad, you know, but basically you'll get bored if I read that. But 2 pages about basically the Japanese sword in Korea. However, there's one thing that's really sticking to me here, which is the origin of the long sword is from the original blah 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 is a double-edged sword was used. However, this is replaced by a single-edged sword in the illustration. If it's Japanese, why is there a double-edged sword being used? That's the bit that's throwing me. So if anybody, page 160 at the bottom, so this is the Japanese sword. It's literally the Japanese sword section, but then it says the origin of wei gum is from the wei bao. The original blah 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 is a double-edged sword used. However, it is replaced by a single-edged sword for this illustration. This is mainly for safety when 2 practitioners attack each other, which can result in death. The fa is a wooden sword that replaces the real sword in practice. Therefore, the weapon required to practice is a single-edged sword. The Japanese are the best in sword patterns, thus their patterns are used in the illustrations. So unless he's saying the Japanese brought this across, but then we moved over to double-edged swords, but now we've gone back to the single-edged sword. I don't know. It's a little bit, it needs a footnote there explaining that. But these are the patterns that the gent went through. Now this is where it gets a little bit cray-cray. Sure, it was Amory himself who did it, but basically he thinks the schools are Douryu Ryu, Unko Ryu, and Senryu. Do we have any more info on this? Ryuka Ryu, anything? Has anybody got anything on these schools? Let me know in the comments below, any links or anything like that. So the actual manual starts like this, and the images are on the right side, step 1, left side, step 2, because remember it's reversed. Step 1, step 2. I'm going to be honest with you, some of them don't match up. It says like whether the translation is wrong, I'm not sure. So, you know, I don't know. So for example, one here, carry the sword above your head with the right hand. But he's got both hands on it. So, and one of them says draw it from your back, but he's got it at the front. So I'm not quite sure. But, you know, and it's got the actual Ryu. So if you look at these, so if you actually look, it gives you Doryu, which is obviously they've done Toryu. So then it goes on and you get to the next school, hold on, which is this one. But the guy here has gone back to the original. So I think Amory's gone back to the original. I don't know where, I'm going to have to ask him where he got these schools named for him. Then Chunryu. So he thinks they're basically trying to sort of like with the sound get close to it, but basically it doesn't really matter because it has, you know, it clearly says these are Japanese. And then what is interesting is there's the full translation. So the Ryuha are there. So for example, that one, yep. And I don't know if that's the original kanji for the Ryuha or it's just the sound they make. It's then translated, and then there's the full system there. So it would be nice to get these done. The question is the unfortunate question is, it's 1790. It would be amazing if these illustrations were 1590. That would be perfect, and that would be amazing. But 1790, there's clearly change gone on. Well, you know, not massive amounts of change, but there is change probably gone on. So it does make me wonder whether the Koreans would stick closer to the original forms than the Japanese, because now I am without doubt that the Japanese systems you get today are so changed, they are so removed that the original instructors would not recognize them. They would be like, I didn't invent that. And I'm not joking, so far removed that they would not know their own school, right? So did the Koreans keep Japanese swordsmanship better than the Japanese? So anyway, guys, that's step 1 in this. It's going to be long standing. This is our next 10 years, isn't it, of working this stuff out. So let's have a look. Let's hopefully get to this. Any information you can give down below. Thank you very much for Amory for his wonderful guidance on this, and hopefully he'll be helping me more in the future with it. If you've stuck to the end, and yeah, let's pick up a book, get yourself a copy of The Art of War. That will help me greatly. It'll, you know, really helps this channel keep going. So get yourself a copy of that, and I hope to see you all soon.